Hello viewers at home, welcome yet again to another episode of Lunch Guide. I am your host Chef Andy, and today we are going to be making a very simple and beautiful dish. Something that's nice, more like a home comfort dish that definitely suits this season. I'm just going to introduce you to some of the ingredients, and we're going to start from the front. So I have some salt and some garlic cloves. I've got some black pepper, some coriander powder and some custard powder. I've got some red curry paste, some oregano and some mustard seeds. I've got some honey, some apple cider vinegar and some soy sauce. And then in the bowl here, I've got some all-purpose flour. I've got some nice fresh coriander here, just 2 eggs there, 1 beautifully filleted leg of chicken, some tomato paste and some breadcrumbs. We're just going to jump into a quick short commercial break, and when we come back, we're just going to go right into the dish. Don't touch that dial. For those of you who are taking some notes, please grab your pens, grab your papers, and see you shortly. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. For those of you who missed the introduction bit of the show, we are going to be making some crispy fried chicken. So as you can see to my left here, which is your right, you can see I've got a pot of hot oil going at the moment. So without further ado, I'm just going to go into the dish now. So for those who missed out on the ingredients, we're going to be using some all-purpose flour, some regular breadcrumbs. We're going to be working with a bit of salt, a bit of black pepper, a bit of coriander powder, some mustard seeds, which I'm just going to pour in there, some oregano, some red curry paste, some garlic cloves there, and some custard powder. And then I also have some eggs here, which we're just going to break quickly, some fresh coriander, some chicken thighs, and some tomato paste. In my porcelain meta here, I've got some mustard seeds, which we're just going to easily crush in there. So without further ado, we're just gonna go right into it. Just gonna go with my first 2 eggs. So just crack those nicely into your bowl there. Remember, you can use any bowl you have. It doesn't have to be the same one I have on screen at the moment. Just gonna give that a nice quick mix with a spoon. So all I'm going to do to that, I'm gonna add 2 pinches of salt. I'm gonna add 2 pinches of black pepper. I'm going to add just a little bit of that coriander powder, and then some oregano. Right. And then I'm just going to add a bit of garlic, which I'm just going to quickly chop roughly on the board here. So nice quick chop, doesn't have to be very fine. So that goes right into your egg mixture on the side here. And to that, lastly, I'm going to add my chicken. So I'm just going to use my pair of tongs here. So I'm just going to drop all that in there. So remember, this is just regular filleted chicken leg and thigh. You can always have your butcher do the filleting for you. If you're able to do the filleting at home, I always recommend do it yourself. Right, so we're just going to give that a nice toss in our egg mixture here. So just for record, as I mentioned earlier, we have a pot of hot oil going on the side here. Please always have a pot ready before you're making crispy chicken, because remember, the idea is to cook it really quick. So always have your oil ready to go. Right, so I'm just going to lift those chicken pieces, those chicken thigh pieces, and I'm just going to drop them in my flour there. So I'm just going to start with 2 pieces at the moment. I'm just gonna give my bowl a nice quick shake. Remember, this is the best way to coat your chicken. Make sure it's totally immersed in the flour. So always have a nice extra amount of flour to do this. Alright, I'm just gonna take those out, give them a nice shake on the sides there. I'm just gonna move them to my board. So always remember, you can work by hand. If you have tongs, I always recommend it's a cleaner way to work. So always give that nice generous dusting. I'll do the same for the first piece here. Alright, always give it a nice generous dusting. Remember that flour and the egg coating that's gonna come later is actually going to help you in the binding of the breadcrumbs. So you definitely need to make sure you've got a nice covering of flour at this stage for each piece. So as I always insist, always give it a nice toss, give your bowl a bit of a shake. Right, don't forget to shake off any excess flour on the sides there. Right, so we're just gonna go with half our mixture. Right, so those are nice and ready. Just gonna get rid of the flour. So now what we're going to do is we're gonna just reserve this few bits of chicken here that we had earlier in the mixture, which we're just going to refry in there as well. Right, so the beauty of resting this second bit of the mixture is that it actually gets a bit of time to absorb the flavors. So you actually get a double flavor effect much later on. So now we're just going to run our dusted chicken thigh pieces in the egg using our pair of tongs. Remember, you can work by hand if you prefer. And all I'm going to do is give that a nice lift, let that all that excess egg just fall off there, and then that's just gonna go straight into a breadcrumb mixture. Right. Just gonna give that a quick mix here. Just going to create some room so that you can be able to see from at home. Right, so the first one's done, and I'm just going to repeat the same process with the other pieces. So always remember to have a nice generous coating of egg. If you need more, always just don't feel biased to crack an extra egg if you realize your egg mixture is too thin or you can't get your chicken to coat all around. Right, just gonna give our bowl a nice quick toss. Always shake that excess off, lay it on the board. So at this point in time, your oil should be at about 160 to 180. Remember, when it's a little too hot, you might get the color too fast and you might not be able to cook it right through to the center. So I'm just going to give you a few tips on how best to check your oil before throwing your chicken in there for frying. So this is now getting a little smoky. I'm just going to turn the heat a little lower. I'm just going to finish coating our last bits of chicken. So as we did with the last few, same thing all the way into the breadcrumbs there. Just gonna give that a nice quick shake. Remember, it's advisable to give your bowl a shake because it also allows the crumbs to penetrate and to get to all the sides of your chicken. And it also gives a nice fair coating as opposed to using your hands. So as you can see, nice beautiful pieces of chicken there. Just gonna get rid of that bowl as well. So now all we are going to do is we're now going to fry the chicken in the hot oil that's already going on the sides there. Right, so all I'm going to request that you do at this point in time, never throw your piece of chicken and dash off the oil. I always recommend, if you don't have a piece of tongs, use a piece of spoon as well. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to hold this on the surface of the oil, and I'm just going to make sure it bubbles like that. And now we know that's hot enough, and I'm just going to drop it in there. And I'm just going to repeat the same process for the other pieces. Remember, the oil is a little hot now, so this is about 200 to 220. So this is going to color really quick. So all we are going to do is get a nice even coloring on the top of the chicken, and then we're just going to take it out and we're going to lay it out on some parchment paper, or if you like, some serviettes or some napkins. So as you can see, nice, beautiful. And as I said, the oil is a little hot, so as you can see, the pieces are really darkening really quick. Just gonna take those out. So those are nice and crispy on the outside. Remember, the idea of using filet of chicken is that it cooks a little faster. All right. So those are nicely, beautifully brown now. We are just going to give that a bit of time to cool off. We're just going to turn also the oil, or turn off the oil. We're just going to jump into a short commercial break, and when we come back, I'm going to show you the finishing process of the dish, where we're going to be making its sauce. We're also going to plate it, and then we're just going to quickly sign off. See you after the short break. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, from our short break. For those who missed out on what we were making today, we've been making some fried chicken. As you can see right in front of you, I've got two varieties of each. I've got one that's got the breadcrumbs, which is the one to your extreme left, and the one right to my right, which is the closest to me, is one that has been done without any breadcrumbs. The reason for this, I wanted to show you the different variations that you can have with your crispy fried chicken. If you're looking at avoiding breadcrumbs, if you have people with allergies to eggs, there's definitely ways around it. So without further ado, we're just going to rush into the last bit of the dish, which was a sauce. And just to reintroduce you to the ingredients I have, I've got some mustard seeds in here in my pestle and mortar. I've got some pureed tomatoes. I've got some honey, some apple cider vinegar, and some soy sauce. Then I've got some salt and pepper for seasoning. I've got some cumin powder and some red curry paste. I've got some cornstarch powder, and I've got some oregano, and last but not least, some fresh cilantro. So without further ado, we're just gonna go to this side of the stage. And I'm going to start off with my tomato puree. So as you can see, nice hot pan. So we're just gonna go with about 3 tablespoons. Just gonna grab a spoon. So we cook that off a little bit, just to give it a bit, just to get a bit of that excess water off the puree. So we're just gonna quickly mix that. So my pan is on medium heat, and so basically this is just regular tomatoes pureed in a blender. If you don't have one, you could always use a grater. It will still give you the same consistency. Right, and then to add, I will add some apple cider vinegar. So remember, this is just techniques to build a sauce. I always start with the most citrusy of ingredients and then work my way towards the sweet. Gives it a nice, beautiful finish. And then we're gonna go with a bit of soy sauce just for color. Nice, beautiful aromas there. Then we're gonna go in with a bit of honey. So this is just regular honey. Right, so about a tablespoon of honey, a tablespoon of soy sauce. I'm just gonna bring my heat a little higher now. So as you can see, the sauce is building slowly. We're getting that thickness as we continue. Then I'm just going to go in with a bit of the coriander powder. So basically, for those who are just joining us, we're making a nice beautiful sauce here. Gonna add some oregano. So this is a sauce that's just going to go with our chicken on the side here. Right, I'm just gonna drop my temperature a little bit. Just continue mixing as you go along. Right, and then I've got some red curry paste. Just to give it a bit of depth, but not for the heat, of course. Right, so a tablespoon of red curry paste now going in there. We've got some honey, some apple cider vinegar, some tomato paste, some oregano, and some coriander powder. So just to finish that off, a bit of salt, a bit of pepper, and just before we take that off the heat, a bit of so for those who missed out, this was basically a convenient byproduct of making sauce. So this is custard powder, just regular custard powder. Just going to add that in there. So the beauty of this is particularly just for the texture of the sauce. If you don't have custard powder, you can alternatively avoid it in this recipe. So in there we went with 3 teaspoons of custard powder, just to give it that nice gravy finish. And you can get the aromas, they're definitely coming through. So I'm just gonna turn down my heat now, and I'm just gonna keep mixing. All right, nice, beautiful sauce there. Gonna give that a bit of a taste. Beautiful. So a nice bit of zing from the vinegar, a nice bit of finish from the custard powder, all the flavors coming through there, a bit of tomatoey flavor coming through. So remember, you can always opt to make the sauce yourself. If you don't have the sauce or the ingredients that we have used today, you can also alternatively just serve it with any regular sauce that you can find in your regular supermarket. So I'm just gonna give that nice quick finish. And basically all we're going to do is we're just going to use our wooden spoon to just get all that sauce to one side of our pot there. Gonna get rid of that. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to use a spoon. I'm just going to spoon nice beautiful dollops on our plate there. So very, very, very simple. Alright, so I'm just going to take you through the plating bit of the dish. So we're just going to grab about 2 or 3 pieces of each. We're just going to lay them on our beautiful plate here. So even from the feel of the tongs, you can actually hear the chicken crunch. It's got a nice beautiful crunch to it. Right, so I'm just gonna go with those 2. I always love to serve my chicken with a bit of mayonnaise, but just to give it a bit of a finish, because it's just plain white, just gonna grab a bit of my fresh coriander leaves, and I'm just gonna roughly quickly chop that. So nice rough chop, fresh coriander into a small bowl with a bit of regular mayonnaise. Gonna give that a nice quick mixture. Right, and all I'm going to do is scoop that onto the side of the plate, so it's just gonna act as a dip. I'm just gonna give that a nice scoop on the side there. Right, very simple techniques of plating. As I said earlier, you don't have to compete or stick with the ideas that we show you on the recipe. This is just for a demo basis. And if you do have your own techniques that do work for you, I always recommend go with them. So I'm just gonna finish those with a bit of garnish. And there we go, ladies and gentlemen. A very beautiful, easy to make at home crispy fried chicken dish. If there's any other alterations that you can make to the dish, as I said, if you have people that don't take any eggs or are definitely allergic to flour, please avoid the egg that we used in the binding process. You can alternatively use milk. There's also alternatives for using all-purpose flour. You can always use also rice flour or a bit of brown flour and white flour substitutions. Just mix part and part together. For the sauce, as I said, if you don't have the ingredients to make the sauce yourself, always just go with something a little easier. Get some regular ketchup or some regular tomato sauce, or even just plain simple mayonnaise. So from me, from Chef Andy, it's been a pleasure to host the show today. It's been a pleasure cooking with you viewers at home. I hope you all try this out. Do remember you can leave your comments and leave your recommendations on our Facebook page. It's been a pleasure cooking with you today, and from my end, I'm just going to say goodbye now. Definitely enjoy your lunch today. See you on the next show. Have a lovely one.